Okay, reading from Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Book 1, Chapter 7, Text 94. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Yadi prītaye teṣāṁ tatra yāmi vasāmi cha tathāpi kim api svāsthyaṁ bhāvyaṁ nālocayāmy. But even if it were for their pleasure, I would return with them. I don't see how that would help. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasade Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah, I gave class yesterday. I didn't think I was going to make it. I expressed that probably what happens is Janaka Pandit says traveling makes one old. So 20 hours and back to Russia and then to Boca Raton, maybe it weakened me a bit because I usually don't get sick. And even if I get sick, I think my immune system is pretty strong. But I got some strength yesterday to give class somehow. We went out and did a program. And, but I think in things like this, the morning gets more difficult. But I think this is such a relishable subject that it will really give me life. I may be a little bit slower. As you remember, this book is thematic. It's explaining tasya parama antim. No. Parama antim dasha. Paramantim dasha. The ultimate limit of realization of a relationship with God, because that's the ultimate realization. And the ultimate realization of God is not just jnanic, intellectual. Teṣāṁ satatayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam Dadami teṣāṁ satatayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tvam yenamam. For those who worship me love, I give them the understanding. So the person with the topmost realization is that person whom Krishna gives himself the most to in response to the force of their love. So that's what Narada Muni's been searching for, and we've ourselves have been on that journey. And then we come to this chapter 7. Which kind of begins with, as I remember, the distress that Krishna has deeply fainted. I would call it catatonic, a type of condition that you feel one may die or may never come out of. And the wailing of the people of Dwarka attracts the attention of Lord Brahma, whose supreme intelligence decides that the only way to bring Krishna out of this kind of state is to bring him to New Vrindavan, Nava Vrindavan, which Vishvakarma, the architect of the demigods, has made. Because then the cause of Krishna's state, which is his separation from the residents of Vrindavan, will be alleviated if they can trick Krishna into believing that he's actually in Vrindavan. And you can imagine, with the architect of the demigods, how authentic that was, and it was indeed, and it woke Krishna up. And Lord Brahma at that point explained what happened and inspired Krishna in his role as the king, because his city and was under attack by the demon, whatever. Anyway, Krishna comes back. Now remember, the whole story, which is so expertly done, is supporting this theme that the highest are the gopis, and not only supporting that theme, but preparing us, when we hear it, to accept it without our prejudice of it being something mundane or sensuous, which is what the Bhagavatam does in its 9 cantos. And Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, if you remember from the beginning, one second. If you remember from the beginning, the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta is Maharaj Parikshit's summary of what he has heard from Sukadeva Goswami on the last day of his life to Maharaj Parikshit. So, in terms of the philosophy and the progression of the philosophy and how it's developed, it very much parallels that. Now, in that journey of Narada, he goes to Uddhava as the topmost devotee. And of course, as we remember, Uddhava says, no, the gopis. Anyway, what happens now, in one of the many ways in which this theme is presented, what happens now is Krishna comes back to the palace, and he's greeted by the queens. I love how this story is done. And then Padmavati, who's the wife of Kamsa's mother and the wife of Ugrasena, she says to these queens, "You're nothing," in a very biting way. "You're nothing compared to these gypsy girls, the gopis." And she even used a derogatory term for them to make it going even harder. These abira, these gypsy girls, you're nothing. And then we just see this beautiful quality of a devotee that his only focus is on Krishna's pleasure. He has no false ego. So without false ego, there's no envy. Envy is the result of false ego. The desire for superiority makes you hate others who may appear greater than you and enthuses you to put them down. So it's very startling, because these are Krishna's wives. So you would think they would argue with Padmavati, but no, and the mother, Devaki, and they both indicate how the gopis are so much superior to them. How Yasoda, Devaki, how Yasoda is superior to them because of their spontaneous devotional service that's not weakened by any mixture of reverence. Sri Guru Charadma Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma, that the Guru gives Kevala Bhakti. What's Kevala Bhakti? Kevala Bhakti is Braja Bhakti. Only Bhakti. Even though we discussed this before, these other relationships with Krishna, queens in Dwarka and to Narayan, that this reverence is a component of their love. But still, there's a gradation. When that element of reverence is not there, the love has more freedom, the love has more force. This is the essence of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And they're not envious at all because there's no false ego. That's why this verse, Tranadapi, Sunichena, Turorapi, Sahishnana, Amanina, Madanena, Kirtaniya Siddhahari, is so important, because we can't chant purely because of offenses. And all offenses are due to ego. And humility protects one from ego and offense. Real humility is without any ego, any sense of superiority, because the focus is so exclusively on Krishna that nothing else can come in one's mind. And even if one gets Krishna's attention, it doesn't make them proud, it makes them humble. Because they know how to value God, and therefore they don't feel worthy. And it makes them reflect on their undeservedness. That's what the feeling of mercy is. I'm getting more than I deserve. And it has to be that on the advanced platforms of Krishna consciousness. I get more, it's more than I deserve. Anyway, there's the part, then this is like culminating, but it's so beautiful. Satyabhama, in her selfless love, romantic love, but not calm, but kamarup, just the form of calm, but not the concept of calm. She pleases Krishna by challenging love. This is all there in the absolute, and it's reflected here in a perverted way. So she doesn't come to greet Krishna, and Krishna's furious. And he begins to tell Satyabhama. Krishna himself is so angry, he's going to tell Satyabhama the glories of the gopis compared to anyone else in terms of his affection for them. So this is like really the culmination of really nailing that point down in our consciousness of the superiority of the love of the gopis, because we're hearing it from Krishna himself. And Krishna starts telling her how I'm ruled by their desires. And if they wanted me to renounce everything there, I promise you in a minute I would do it. He tells her. And he tells her that the praise offered by the Brahma was true. And that's from the Lord Brahma's prayers. My mind becomes bewildered just trying to think of what reward other than you can be found anywhere. Brahma's talking to Krishna after he's humbled. You're the embodiment of all benedictions, which you shower upon these residents of the cowherd community of Vrindavan. You've already arranged to give yourself to Putana and her family members in exchange for her disguising herself as a devotee. So what is left for you to give these devotees of Vrindavan, whose homes, wealth, friends, bodies, children, dear relations, and very lives and hearts are only dedicated to you? So that's what he was referring to. Now, in this glorification, from so many different angles, there has to be a question answered. And that question was really brought up in the last chapter. The contradiction of why Krishna fainted when he heard the suffering of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛtas in separation from him, yet didn't go back. That doesn't make sense. If you really feel and love them so much and they're suffering in separation for you, then why don't you go back? 1 second, I got these here. So why don't you go back? So he says, but even for their pleasure, I will return to live with them. I don't see how that would help. This also reflects on the depth of their love, because it's going to show that their separation is so deep that it's a risk for Krishna to go back, because they're in they would need time to convalesce. When you have a disease, you got to convalesce, and in that mood, Krishna's fearful that when they're so sensitive to this, it's so absorbing to them, that the separation, so traumatic for them, that when Krishna would be there, Krishna's feeling, as soon as they're in half consciousness, they'll see him. And even if the thought comes, maybe he'll leave again, it'll be such an emotional shock that their catatonic state of separation would go even deeper. Just by seeing me, they become so dazed and bewildered by ecstasies from deep within that they fail to recognize their own bodies and everything that has to do with their bodies, what to speak of the rest of the world. So coming from that deep separation, imagine losing someone dear to you, and you feel that they're dead, and then all of a sudden they show up as surprise. They do those things that they sometimes do with the airmen, the military men, that, they're overseas for a year or two and they haven't seen their mother. They haven't seen their mother. And then they surprise her. And a lot of times it just shocks the mother. And remember, this is Vipralambha. This is the separation from the most intense Braja Bhakti. That's what it's trying to show here. It would be a shock. Purport. As soon as the devotees of Vraja see Krishna's beauty, their prema transfers into intense ecstasies, manifest in their bodies as trembling, perspiring, and other sattvika symptoms. Then these devotees enter a trance of bewilderment, losing their external consciousness. In this state called vimohan, the most exceptional trance, Vishishta Mohan, the Supreme reveals himself in full with his attributes and associates. This state therefore lies far beyond partial realization of the truth attained by impersonalists in their ordinary samadhi, with its artificial background of voidness. The astika sattvika bhavs. The sattvika bhavs are bodily reactions that come involuntary. Anubhav means embracing and dancing and kissing and things that goes through your mind, let me do, but this is involuntary. This is involuntary. So it's very powerful, and Krishna's afraid if he incites this, it's going to be devastating for them now. Because the separation is always so strong, and coming back to the union may be shocks for them. The masculine pronoun te, they, here indicates all the Vrijvasis, both male and female. Or else Krishna is really talking only about his female devotees, the young gopis, but avoids using the feminine pronoun ta, because in the present company he does not want to talk about them openly. In either case, when the Vrijvasis see him, they forget their body and everything that is connected with them, family, social position, responsibility, and so on. They forget whatever plans they may have for success in this life and the next. Therefore, since the Brajvasis, upon seeing Krishna again, will lose all contact with reality, Krishna sees no hope of restoring them to health by returning. His going back to them would only make their condition worse. Next verse. So their pain won't be relieved even if they see me. Their hearts will be so disturbed by thoughts of separation from me that whatever measures I take for happiness will only double their grief. So this is astounding, what their level of separation is. But if there is a God, the God is Krishna. If there is a God and that God is Krishna, and this is the supreme love for Krishna, can we quantify the level of emotional intensity in that love? Can we doubt that their hearts will be so disturbed by thoughts of separation from me that even when they see me, that whatever I do for their happiness will double their grief? Purport: in their trance of separation, devotees are aware of nothing but Krishna. Their ecstasy is so deep that a natural effect of remembering Krishna, they see him physically before him. Other pure devotees whose love for Krishna is not on the same platform have separate experiences of him internally and externally. Somehow I think I did this verse, but I think it's ever fresh. So somehow it says that their love is so intense, their separation is so intense that the object before them goes into their heart in separation in such a powerful effect that there's no difference. And in separation, they actually see Krishna also physically before them. Other pure devotees whose love for Krishna is not on the same level of perfection have separate experiences of him internally and externally. So there's no separate experience. They see Krishna internally and externally because it is prema, and that's the symptom of prema. Dhruva, for example, concentrated his mind on Lord Vishnu in deep meditation, but his internal vision of the Lord did not expand into a vision outside of that, like the love of the gopis. So their external vision of the gopis manifests outside. Only when Lord Vishnu came to Dhruva to offer him special mercy did the Lord disappear from Dhruva's heart to show himself externally, as described in the 4th canto of the Bhāgavatāmṛta. The form of the Lord, which was brilliant like lightning and so on, which Dhruva Maharaj, in his mature yogic process, was fully absorbed in meditation, all of a sudden disappeared. Thus Dhruva was perturbed and his meditation broke. But as soon as he opened his eyes, he saw the Supreme Personality of God personally present, just as he has been seeing the Lord in his heart. So also, in presenting the superiority of anything, which is the purpose of this book, you must discuss it in comparison to others. I mentioned that in the Bhagavatam. There's Brahma Vimohan Leela. There's the Vishnu Dwara defeating the Shiva Dwara. In this Chaitanya Charitamrita, he defeats the Tattvavadis, the Madhvis. He debates with the Nimbarkas, Keshava Kashmiri. He debates with the Sri Vaishnavas. What is his name? Venkata Bhatt, the father of Gopal Bhatta. The full vision of Krishna's beauty relished by the Bṛhad-vasis as the ultimate fruit of perfection. One might suggest, therefore, that if Krishna was to present himself once more before the Bṛhad-vasis, their condition would certainly improve. This might be true, but to recover from the intense pain of separation would take some time. And the Bṛhad-vasis, thinking Krishna might leave them again, might relapse into the trance of separation. Therefore, Krishna thinks that returning to them would only cast them into deeper suffering. So it's just trying to explain in this wonderful story, the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, which is the first book written by the 6 Goswamis, written by Sanatana Goswami, and the philosophical basis on which all other books were written. How exalted is this love of the gopis? To the nth degree. What is the degree of their separation, which indicates their degree of love? That's what's being explained. The painful anxiety of separation from Krishna puts the atmas of the Bṛhad-vasis, meaning their hearts, their body, and the very essence of their being, into turmoil. When a person has not eaten for a long time, the vital elements of his body are depleted. What a beautiful analogy. So that even after obtaining food, he takes time to recover. He does not recover simply by having food placed before him. He has to eat, and in a manner that does not make him sicker. Then he has to wait for the nourishment to be distributed in his body. Similarly, Krishna thinks, the Bṛhad-vasis will not recover just by seeing me. They will have to enjoy pastimes with me, and not only for a short time, but as long as needed to fulfill their desires. I feel that this will prove impossible since I have too many other things to take care of elsewhere. I am capable of curing them. So even the force of it, and even the amount of time it would take, even if Krishna's concerns were unfounded, if he were to treat their disease of separation by returning to them, they would be susceptible to agitation, thinking that he may leave them again. Their anxiety being a very essential part of their existence cannot be cured even by his personal darshan. As Krishna indicates by the word vai, he knows this from his own experience with the devotees of Vrindavan. And so also do the devotees he's speaking to in Dwarka. As Krishna relates in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the last chapter of the 10th canto, 10:20:15, after Krishna's queens enjoyed water sports with Krishna, the queens mourned, quote, "O Karari bird, at night you were lamenting. Somewhere in this world the Supreme Lord is asleep in a hot hidden place. But you were wide awake, O friend, unable to fall asleep. Is it that you, like us, have had your heart pierced to the core by the magnificent, playful, smiling glances of the lotus-eyed Lord?" While speaking this verse, Krishna's queens were not actually separated from him. Thus they say, Ratyam Ishvara, referring to the night as different from the present moment. In fact, they were speaking during the day and had just finished playing with Krishna in the water. Introducing these sports, Sukadev has said, oh, there's a long purport. I usually don't read them, but let's go. The queens then became stunned in ecstatic trance, their mind absorbed in Krishna alone. Thinking of their lotus-eyed Lord, they spoke as if insane. Please hear their words from me as I related them. Thus the queens, whose only object of attention was Krishna, were momentarily speechless in trance. When their thoughts of Krishna impelled them to speak, they spoke slowly as if recovering from a mental imbalance. From their words, it is evident that Krishna's queens were foreseeing the pain of separation, even while enjoying with him. Sukadeva Goswami choose to end his narration of the 10th canto on this note of especially intense sweetness. Madhurena samapaya. It means you should always end with something very sweet and profound. So the Bhagavatam ends with this profound thought of even showing the queens of Dwarka in the pain of separation, even when they were just with Krishna, showing that it's part of the existential condition of these pure devotees, and then what to speak of the gopis. Krishna may be the omniscient supreme Lord and the most expert arranger of all things to satisfy his devotees, but these were special devotees, the devotees in Vraj. He feels unable to help them. Teṣāṁ, there, may again refer either to the Bṛjavasis in general or only to the gopis. His sentiments expressed in this verse are betting in either case. Any attempt to make the Bṛjavasis happy will quickly make everything go wrong, just as water thrown on an oil fire makes the fire explode and go out of control. Another very beautiful analogy of fire, you throw water on it, it makes it worse. Even though apparently water is the thing that will extinguish the fire. But if it's an oil fire, it won't. It'll make it worse. So an analogy is, you would think that Krishna going back to see the gopis would help them, but their existential condition is like oil and their separation is like fire. It may just make it worse. Thus, Krishna faces a dilemma. On one hand, the Bṛjavasis do not know how they can survive in separation from Krishna. And on the other hand, even if he stays with them a long time, they would inevitably worry that any moment he might leave again. At this most exquisite agony of viraha bhav rises in the heart as it arises, it would only worsen their grief. Krishna reasons that just as there's no way to remove the natural quality of heat that he imparted in the element of fire at the time of creation, there's no way that anyone, even he himself, could withdraw the ecstatic nature of the Bṛjavasis imparted to them by his unique mercy. The state of affairs is the greatest glory of the residents of Vrindavan. That's what Narada was looking for. Of course, the devotees in Braja feel special ecstasy when they join with him directly in spontaneous pastimes found nowhere else. Nonetheless, the special love, born of separation from him, rises within them most of the time. The Bṛjavasis are the special recipients of the excellent viraha bhav, which is his greatest mercy, parama mahatva, because it is filled with the highest special happiness, carried to its ultimate extreme. Although everyone in this world lives in separation from Krishna, only the Bṛjavasis fully experience raha bhav. Their special ecstasy of separation from Krishna is obtained only by special mercy and only after very intimate association with him. Krishna feels very grateful for the transcendental love of his gopis and his other beloved devotees in Vrindavan, so he cannot bear to see the disastrous effects of their viraha bhav. He therefore cannot return to live with them again or pay a short visit. And Krishna continues. And when they cannot see me, they become so torn that the fire of separation leaves them sometimes as though dead, and sometimes as though insane. Thus they partake of the nectar of wonderful ecstasies. Kadichit, sometimes vichitra, wonderful ecstasies, maduram, very sweet ecstasies, bhajante, they experience. In this verse, Krishna defends himself against the accusation that he is ungrateful to the abandonment, to having abandoned the residents of Vraja. What the Vrijvasis feel because of Krishna's absence is concentrated agony similar to the burning heat of fire. They lose control of their wits and sometimes seem on the verge of death, showing no external signs of life, and other times they see afflicted. But Krishna explains that these are all signs of the highest devotional ecstasy. I describe that seeing a tragedy on a drama and enjoying it. So you feel the tragedy, but without something that devastates you, but actually gives you pleasure. So somehow they feel this agony, but somehow or other, the foreground of it is these transcendental ecstasies. If they see a patch of darkness resembling my complexion, they embrace it and kiss it, mistaking it for me. What more can I describe? So, therefore, my staying with them would be equal to my absence. Realizing this, I have not returned there. Now hear the real reason I married you, because this is heavy. Because I married 16,108 queens because they reminded me of the gopis. So it's pretty intense, and it's really beautiful how this is explained, and you can see why you can't just jump to this. You have to study it systematically from the beginning. So I did pretty good. I knew I would become enlivened. In about 15 minutes, I will crash out. But Jamuna, Jaya, you can start.
Hare Krishna Raj, thank you for class. Yeah, very enlivening. There's two things that I really sort of linked together in my mind. The rhetorical question you said is that how can we quantify the love of the gopis for Krishna? That's like you can't quantify it. I love that the way you phrase that, and then that. Let me read it directly from my notes. What you said: the gopis' anxiety is essential part of their existence. This anxiety is essential. The anxiety for
It's
separation.
another realm.
Yeah.
That doesn't 100% conform to our spatial temporal realm, where different things can exist in the same person without conflict or without duality, even being a different person in the same person, like the Sanga and Ramananda Roy, or Sarup Damodar and Lalita, or Vrishabhanu and Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So but why not? It's on the realm of God. He's not confined, but it's going to be filtered through our experience to a certain degree, right? So we won't be able to understand it logically, but we can understand it reasonably or logically, that this is God and God can do anything. One time, a god sister of mine, who actually grew up a block from me in Brooklyn, brought her mother, who was a psychologist or something, and I took them on Prikram, and we were in Govardhan Hill. And somehow someone asked, "You believe this, that Krishna left the hills?" She said, well, she was smart. She said, well, if he's God, then why can't he do that? Okay. All right. Gail, I'm giving you a shot.
Hi, Krishna Maharaj. Yeah, this thing that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan,
Yeah.
but at the same time, he's choosing not to go back, you know. And at the same time, the prema of the gopis enable them to see him simultaneously inside their hearts as well as outside. So between all these things, you know,
Yeah.
is is he does he go back or not?
You ask him if he goes back or not?
Yeah,
I
because
forgot. Evidently, he visited once, but it's not a question. It's a question that these pastimes, everyone, this is what's so hard to understand. Everything that happens in the spiritual world, which is beyond time and space, is eternal. So his leaving is eternal, his staying is eternal.
mm-hmm.
I know this will not make logical sense to a toll collector in Brooklyn, and I tell this story when I first got this car when I had to leave India, and I was in Manhattan. I took a wrong turn, and I wound up over one of the bridges.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell it again, but you heard it before.
Yeah.
And I told the toll collector, really polite, I didn't want. Sorry, I think I'm lost. He looked at me with such disgust. Either you're lost or you're not lost. So him and Gail are not going to understand the seventh chapter of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta.
But now I think I do actually. So that toll collector and I, we are now in a different class from each other.
Okay, I'm joking.
But Maharaj, these. I just want to confirm though that the queens, although they experience separation from Krishna, just like Dhruva, Maharaj, they would never. Their level of separation could never come to the point
Of the
where
gopis,
Krishna.
they're mixed with spontaneous devotion because they're the wives. It's
Yeah,
mixed. It's not just reverence because they're the wives. You can see that by Satyabhama.
yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly, to what state they have that same experience, but definitely not to the level of the gopis. That's all I can say.
So we cannot say really whether their level of separation could bring them to actually be able to see Krishna outside.
What it says here is no.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. It's Bhakti Devi.
Bhakti Devi, why can't I see you?
I don't know. I'm kind of in the dark.
Your
But
screen is so dark.
I know because I was in the dark. Um, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm reading this book, Dark Night of the Soul,
Yeah.
and in it, you know,
By
John,
Simon.
no, not that one. That's Yoga in the Dark Night. It's a different one. But it talks about John of the Cross and Teresa of Avila, and
This is the Christian Dark Night of the Soul, right?
yes,
Okay.
and in it they say that the soul has a very active life with God, and which makes me think that the soul is constantly in communion with God.
Yeah.
But then I think about how in our philosophy we say that there's this veil of illusion covering us. When we say that, are we saying that it's covering the soul, or is it something else that it's covering? Or are we saying that the soul is unaware or has forgotten its relationship with God?
Yes. It's Tatasta Shakti. And Tata means on the shore of the ocean. Is it in water? It's in land. It can be in either, right? Is the shore in water or is land? Sometimes it has a choice. So we say that, yeah, it covers the soul. It's just, I give the example of the sun and a person. Even the sun's so powerful, an umbrella, which is just a small thing, can cover you from the sun. So, like that. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Haribo.
Good morning, Maharaj.
Always great to see you, Brahmatirtha Prabhu.
A very nice class the day before Janmashtami. Makes us think of Krishna.
Wow.
Well done.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I love your background. You're
In other words, I'm spaced out.
Well, I don't know if you know that I studied in school astronomy. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, I was taking up space.
I like it.
Okay. I once used that line. I was giving a class, right, to 300 students at Advaita, right? Advaita had the Edward Bryant had his beginning class, and I gave the class. And that's how I started off. I said, I haven't been in school for so many years since I was studying astronomy. You know, and everyone looked, and I said I was taking up space. It was a good way to begin.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, you can use that.
I might use that.
But you have to return a joke for me, a new one.
But I'll have to give you attribution. Okay.
Okay, Harbo. Anyone else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, that was just a wonderful class. Thank you so much. Thank you for the joke.
Great to see you, Henry. And your background is from where?
Well, I'm going to say I studied astronomy now. I'm stealing that line. That's a great one, you know.
It's a great line, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm curious, where is the background?
Oh, the background. Okay. So that's from Nantucket Island, which is off of Massachusetts. And I went there like 5 days in a row in the morning, and I tried to get the best light and the best angle. And it's a little pond at the far end of Nantucket. And the way you get the best picture is if you go back at different times of the day to find where it is the best light. And it's actually really amazing when you see it on a big giant screen. It's really an amazing.
It does look great. It does look great. Yeah, Haribo. We'll see you next month. I'm looking.
Yes.
Anybody else? Hey, Malata Radha.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, how are you? So nice to see you, and thanks so much for class, Maharaj.
Okay, great.
Trying to see if I can make it to Puri this coming year.
Wow.
Yes.
That would be great. And then come up to Vrindavan and Govardhan.
Yes.
Then you can stay later in Govardhan if you want. And also, if you want to spend some days in Vrindavan, you can go there and use my room like you did before.
Wonderful, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Puri will be really nice. Yeah, I don't advertise, but it's nice. Siddheshwari and some of the Iranians thought they might come. Yeah. Were you there the year that famous opera singer came?
No, Maharaj.
Yeah, well, there's this famous, he's a really accomplished opera singer. And he's a devotee, and our sound system broke in front of the Jagannath Mandir, or we couldn't get it in. And we used him as a background because his voice, yeah. So
wow.
Anyway, we'll always have a nice time. Akinchana Krishna and those great kirtaniers, those Mauritian brothers, and that Bengali kirtan will come. Yeah, so that'll be great. Okay, let's see.
Hari Prasad is coming, or who else is coming, Maharaj?
I'll try to get Hari Parshad.
Yay.
Either Hari Parshad or Jai Jagannath, or both. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Govinda.
And Bṛhad, thank you for class.
Haribo, we'll see you a little bit late. What time are you going to come over?
Is like 1 or 2 o'clock okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
And I will get shaved. It's interesting. Okay. Once I give class, I start to feel better. It's amazing.
Good.
a lot of things happened to my body this morning, which is surprising to say that.
Yeah.
Unexpected. So there's a purging that's happening, even I
Okay.
haven't eaten.
Yeah.
I did eat something this morning, but only fruits and vegetables. Okay, anybody else?
Very well.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, Tota Gopinath here. Great to hear from you.
Okay, I'll probably see you tomorrow, or I'll call you later. We'll figure it out. Okay.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Krishna-katha. Thank you so much for the class.
Oh,
Thank you.
so nice to always have you on the class. Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Surya Radhika here.
I heard that your
Thanks.
mother may be coming to Vancouver now, right?
Yeah, very soon, and I'm very happy.
So you can share your apartment?
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
That
I'm
makes
looking
that
forward.
makes it cheaper, but that's great, huh?
Yeah, I'm looking forward for her to come.
So
Yeah,
she got a professorship
yeah,
there, right? Okay,
yeah.
good. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Haribol.
Arman, nice to see you. Hare Krishna. Good.
Haribol, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Great.
Nice to see you too, Maharaj. Thank you for your class.
You're so steady here. That's great.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna Maharaj.
Hey, Haribo. Andrea, nice to see you.
Yes. Lovely to see you too. Thank you for class.
Thank you so much. Maybe we'll see you in India sometime.
Yeah, I'm planning on coming. I've just been helping a friend who's been going through a diagnosis, but we got it's okay now. So I'm just looking at how it all fits in. But I really hope to come at Kartik.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Anybody else? Say hello.
Hare Krishna Maharaj Yvette. Thank you for class. Looks like you're feeling better, so I'm glad to see that.
Only after the class, but you're everywhere.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for the class. I hope you recover soon.
Yes. Maybe we touch base again in a few days. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. I will write you.
Okay. Good. Good. Anybody else? Okay. I'll look at the list, see all the people that are coming. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa